John, I don't know what it means that the Vikings won their first game, but I will say that it couldn't have gone much better. They pretty much had all of their newcomers perform really well, including Sam Darnold. Let's get into all of that here on the Viking Update Show. We're brought to you by the Minnesota Lottery Vikings Scratch Game. We are also coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio. Thanks for listening to the Viking Update Show. We also highly recommend Jeff Diamond's Vikings and NFL Insider, our show with the former Vikings general manager. Best way to listen to this or any of the shows you like at talknorth.com. Please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. We do appreciate it. Thanks to our many sponsors, Natrium, Crazy Fresh, Chew Vision, TSR Injury Law, Twill and the Edina Galleria, and, of course, Aquarius and the Minnesota Lottery Vikings Scratch Game Edition. All right, John, so I was there. You were watching on TV, and it went pretty swimmingly. What jumped out at you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I want to temper things slightly just because I think the Giants are really a bad team they're going to lose a ton of games this season and not very talented. They're terrible offensively and defensively. They're meh. But what I want to, I think, emphasize is I was certainly, I don't know if I want to say skeptical, but curious about what we were going to see from this new iteration of the Vikings with Sam Darnold at quarterback, with Aaron Jones, with the offensive line, with the defense continuing to be revamped. And we just didn't have a whole lot to go on from the limited things that we saw in the preseason, to training camp and all that stuff. And so as a first impression, this certainly was a very good one. Sam Darnold looked really, really sharp. The defense looked very, very good, and quick reacting and ready for anything that the Giants were going to throw at them. And they went out and dominated a really inferior opponent. Honestly, I wondered how inferior the Giants were going to be to the Vikings, just considering I thought that the Vikings were the fourth place team in the NFC North. And I thought that it was going to be a year of 6 or 7 wins. But they looked vastly superior to a very bad team. And I think that's a really good sign. I think there are things that they can build on going into this week against a much better opponent, but just in terms of just your first overall feel for what this team is capable of doing, I certainly came out of the game thinking that they're capable of doing more than maybe I initially thought. We will see if they can sustain that against better competition that is coming right around the corner here.
Yeah, and it jumped out at me being there, watching it live. It just seemed like the coaching staff was absolutely prepared to beat that team. How that translates into beating better teams, we'll have to see. But I thought O'Connell and Flores just completely outcoached their counterparts.
No doubt. And I actually, I think Brian Daboll is a good coach. And so to be able to really tip the scales in their favor to a demonstrable degree from the coaching aspect, I think was another good sign. I mean, Flores was ready for anything that very limited offense was capable of doing. The Andrew Van Ginkel interception for a touchdown, it really just showed how much scouting that they have done, how much preparation that they had done, because he was absolutely ready for that play in the moment. I thought Kevin O'Connell's just overall game plan and his ability to mix and match, run and pass, with great success, and in general provide Sam Darnold with a lot of protection. I think that was a really resounding success as well against a defensive front that should be pretty good for this season. And so that all that speaks to the job that the coaches did both during the week preparing for this game and then on game day to help these players execute, because it was just a really sharp performance. There were some penalties that were mixed in there, and it got a little bit sluggish at some points with those. But in terms of both the offense and the defense looking like they were ready and playing very crisply, I thought that it was great. And that's definitely tip your hat to the coaches for just the sharpness of that performance.
Yes. Also a very interesting week in what we expected to be a very good division. As you said, I think we both thought that the danger of this season was Vikings not having a prime quarterback, looking like they're more set up to win in 2025 than they are in 2024, and the rest of the division looking either good or improved. It looked like this was going to be a rough ride. And what we saw was the Vikings at least look professional. That's the calmest adjective you could probably give them after 1 week. The Bears couldn't function offensively. Now Rome Odunze has an injury. They couldn't. I mean, Caleb Williams did not look good in the opener. The Packers lose Jordan Love and a game. Lions look good, but they didn't look like world beaters. They just looked like what we've seen from them the last couple of years, which is a good physical team.
Yeah, it's I certainly want a larger sample size of games before we make any kind of grand proclamations on where the division is at. But I do think that you're right in terms of the initial reaction to it is that the Bears maybe are not ready right now to make that jump that we kind of thought with that offense. Now, first game for Caleb Williams, rookie jitters, all of those things could be coming into play, and maybe he will just be a lot better through the course of the season. But I think that one thing you do have to prepare for with a rookie quarterback playing is the ups and the downs. And you got the downs certainly to a great degree in Chicago in week 1 against a team that not many people expect a whole lot out of in the Titans. The Packers, I think, are in real trouble. Malik Willis is going to start this week. And with Jordan Love out for several weeks, presumably, and then when he comes back, what kind of shape is he going to be in? That is a huge blow to what their chances of competing for the playoffs. And certainly, I think it really does put on a shaky foundation their plans to be first or second in the NFC North. I thought with the Lions, it wasn't their best performance, but I think the Rams are really good, actually. And so to be able to win that game and go down and score when they needed to and come through in big moments, I still feel really good about where Detroit is and them being the best team in this division. But certainly the door is absolutely open for the Vikings if they can build on what they did in week 1. And, I am absolutely still kind of looking at it with a little bit of sobriety because I just think the Giants are terrible. And I really think that, the Niners are going to be a much better indicator of exactly where the Vikings are at. But, I think that, for Vikings fans who certainly entered this season, not really knowing what to expect, they have to be feeling good and optimistic going into the home opener. Whereas, if it was a tight game, if it was ugly and sloppy, or if they had lost, of course, I think that the atmosphere would be much more muted on Sunday. And instead, it's going to be pretty wound up and people are going to be coming in pretty excited for it.
Yeah, I have a lot of Viking fans in my life, including my wife, and they were all really impressed and really excited. And I want to caution them that they'll learn a lot more about this team in the next couple of weeks. But I really don't want to dampen their enthusiasm because the team did play well. I do think the Giants are horrific, and they're also, I think, the interesting trend in the NFL after all those teams drafted quarterbacks in the top 10. And after all these teams are paying their quarterbacks $40 to $60 million a year, I just wonder if the market we'll see a market shift to teams saying, God, maybe you don't want to overinvest in the quarterback position because there's such a high rate of failure, even among those who you draft high. And now you're seeing guys like Cousins and Prescott with really no postseason resumes getting massive amounts of money. I mean, now at least Prescott played well on Sunday. Cousins, that was another reason for the Viking fans to feel good. Cousins played terrible while Sam Darnold at least looked professional.
Yeah, I think, I think really what it's going to come down to is when you look at the economic structure of the league is you're still going to have to pay the best of the best quarterbacks the big time money. There might be there might be a little bit of a correction in terms of who exactly qualifies for that. Clearly, the Vikings made their decision with Kirk Cousins that we like you. You've been a good quarterback here. You've been productive, but you are not at this stage coming off the Achilles at the age that you're at with what we've seen from you in the past, that you are not the break your bank type of a quarterback, that we're not going to pay you for that. That's a hard decision for a team to make because quarterback is so important, and you can sort of, I think, be talked into doing something just for the sake of doing it, essentially, and maybe panicking a little bit. I think still like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, all of those top, and Dak Prescott. Yeah, he hasn't won anything, but he's certainly got paid. So you're still going to see those big checks go out, but maybe some of the middle class won't get those same numbers. When you look certainly at what Sam Darnold did in week 1 against, I have real questions about the Giants, but that front 7, like especially that front 4, like I feel like they're a really good, talented group. And so for Darnold to come out and hit his first 12 passes, to look like he was in complete control, the one interception that he threw, was his arm was hit. It wasn't his fault. If you can get production like that from him all season long, he didn't light the world on fire. He didn't throw for 404 touchdowns, but what he did was command the offense and give the passing game enough of an element of danger that the defense had to worry about it. And that opened things up for Aaron Jones as well on the ground. And they were a really balanced, good attack. And so, that formula with a quarterback like that, or a rookie quarterback on an affordable deal, is certainly very, very enticing to go down. You just got to be able to find the right one. And if you're doing that, it could be great. If you are the Falcon, or if you are the Steelers with Fields and Wilson, if you're some of these other teams that are trying to find guys and just and hold it together with chewing gum, that's a little bit more of a fraught system. But at least week 1, Sam Darnold looked really, really good. And that right now, that decision of letting Cousins go and bring in Darnold and see what you have with McCarthy down the road looks really good for Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah.
It does. Let's get into the defense next. I want to tell you about Natreum, Natreum. There are locations everywhere. Their mothership locations in St. Louis Park. I started using Natreum products long before we ever talked to them about sponsoring this podcast and the network. And what I love is the variety: gummies, drinks, dips, balms, oils. They've helped me with headaches and sleep. It's also nice sometimes on a weekday or a work night to have something that takes a little bit of the edge off, but isn't going to give you a hangover. I love that. I love having a cocktail now and then, but I can't do that every night. And I just feel good when I take this stuff. Simple ingredients, few ingredients, which is a big thing for me. I have a bunch of dietary problems. I love it when I know that what I'm ingesting is simple and I don't need to read through 18 different ingredients to find out which one is going to mess with me. So I just love this stuff. They also come under the name of Wildflower. There's a Wildflower shop near me. It's basically the same products. So I would, they have oil that's really good for your guts. They have quick balm stuff, good for stress. They actually have products that will help take stress away if you don't like driving in rush hour. There's so many good applications. I know my wife loves it for sleep. And I'm someone who's always dealt with more headaches than I think I should be dealing with. And I love having this kind of solution instead of just your over-counter pain medications that never really seem to work for me. So I would check out Natreum, natreum.com. You can go there in person. You can order online. Also want to tell you that I've been eating Crazy Fresh pretty much every day of the week, at least one of their products, with salads, guacamole, salsa. So check out Crazy Fresh. Attention all football fans, this season Crazy Fresh is bringing you the ultimate game day experience with our Gold Ticket Sweepstakes. Craving a win? Look no further than your favorite Crazy Fresh taco dip. Hidden inside select packages, you could find a gold ticket, your instant pass to a professional football game. But that's not all. Scan the QR code under the lid for your chance to win big. 75-inch TVs, Blackstone griddles, and more. It's time to gear up and get in on the action. The Crazy Fresh Gold Ticket Sweepstakes is running now through January 31st. Don't miss out. Pick up your Crazy Fresh taco dip today and start winning. Crazy Fresh, where game day just got fresher.
Yeah, I'm a brand new man, Jim, this week. If for listeners of the John Krawczynski show over the last month or more, I've been telling you all about True Vision Institute in Bloomington. And we've been talking a lot about the help that they gave me in the consultation to figure out how to correct my vision once and for all, and all the process of going through it. Well, finally, last week, I was able to go in and have LASIK surgery at True Vision. And I've talked to people who have had it before, and they all say how much it changes their lives. I'm like, all right, come on. Can it really be that good? And here I am, less than a week out from surgery. And I'm telling you, it is that good. For the first time since I've been in fourth grade, I don't have glasses or contacts to mess with. I don't have to worry about going in for, every year or two for vision checkups and for new glasses and putting hundreds of dollars into new glasses or new contacts. A contact gets ripped and I got to go replace that. The best thing about it is I wake up in the morning and I'm not fumbling around for my glasses so I can see, check my phone, look over at my wife and see her face. Like I'm seeing 100% clearly. And it happened almost immediately after the surgery. I went in for the surgery last week and I was a little nervous. You had a laser pointed at your eye. It's nerve wracking, but the people at True Vision were so welcoming and calming and comforting, that it really took a lot of the anxiety away for me for the procedure itself. I was in and out in a little over an hour. The procedure itself actually only takes a couple of minutes. They do what they need to do to get your eyes fixed and they get you on your way. My mom gave me a ride home. I spent the night just kind of resting, sleeping. When I woke up the next morning, seeing 100% clearly, could drive to my follow-up appointment, 20/20 vision. Everything was great. And I still am kind of walking around pinching myself right now that I can't believe I don't have glasses or contacts anymore. And Dr. Chu was absolutely phenomenal through the process. I was nervous. He has a very soothing, calming voice. He takes you through it very easily. He puts you at ease. He makes you feel comfortable when you're on the table getting the procedure done. And it just was really helpful for me in just kind of taking away a lot of the nervousness that I had about it. He was so easygoing and was so reassuring, and just talked me through everything. It only took a few minutes to get done. And then I was out the door and on my way. A week later, I feel great. I'm seeing perfectly. I wish I would have done it 10 years ago. Go to truevision.com and set up your consultation. Tell them the John Krawczynski show sent you. But honestly, I cannot speak highly enough about my experience there and about the results. It's just life-changing stuff.
I also want to thank longtime sponsor of this show and the John Krawczynski show, our basketball show at talkworth.com. That's TSR Injury Law, 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. Call them now. You will thank them later. They will, if they take your case, they will not charge you unless they win your case. They win a lot of cases. That's why you see all the cool billboards. So, John, the defense. My question going in was, because I always thought that Danielle Hunter should have been here for the long haul. And, combination of injuries at key junctures, them not wanting to put all that money in him for whatever reason. They end up basically letting Hunter go and replacing him with Grenard, Van Ginkel, and Turner. Now, I think Hunter is still a great player, but this might suit Brian Flores even better to have a variety of pass rushers instead of just one great pass rusher.
Yeah, I do think that what we've seen from Brian Flores already last year too is he does feel like a numbers and depth guy, someone that can take advantage of having multiple bodies to throw at an offense in waves. And I think that he likes having sort of different options, a different variety of the same position to kind of keep an offense guessing a little bit more and throw some different looks at people. And what you saw on Sunday was some real success with that, because you had Van Ginkel with the interception. You had Dallas Turner with a sack, and some constant pressure on Daniel Jones. Patrick Jones looked really good as well, in a couple of stretches. And I do think that in terms of asset allocation and like how you are spreading the money around, Flores is showing that he doesn't need Danielle Hunter. He doesn't need TJ Watt. He doesn't need like that overpowering dominant player to have an effective defense. If you can then add depth by avoiding that, it's kind of similar to having the quarterback on offense that doesn't make $40 million. If you don't have a rush edge guy who makes a ton of money too, well, then you can spend a little bit more to get Stephon Gilmore in here. You can add a little bit at linebacker, at safety, or wherever else you need to go. And then there are fewer holes, I think, defensively, even if they're the highest of high end player isn't quite there, like other teams have. And so I thought that, the defense just really looked solid at all three levels, and they never looked like they were in trouble because they had a bunch of guys out there who were rested and ready, fresh to go, and aware of their assignments. And again, we will see what happens when they're playing Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, rather than Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors and Wandale Robinson or whoever else they had thrown out there for the Giants. But I think that this fits Flores's overall ethos of give me a bunch of guys, I'll get them to play together, and the sum, the whole will be greater than the sum of its parts.
Yes. Let's look ahead next. But first, I want to thank Aquarius Home Services. We are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studios, and we also want you to know more about Aquarius Home Services.
Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Making your life better is a huge priority for us at Aquarius. It may start with providing worry-free water or heating and cooling systems you can trust, but there's another very important reason. Aquarius is family-owned and operated. We work hard to earn the right to be recommended. That means upfront, no-surprise pricing, providing a 5-star experience, and treating your home and time with respect. And knowing we're just a click away at AquariusHomeservices.com.
I've been telling you about Twill for a long time. First of all, they've been great to us. It's Scott Dayton Shop, Twill by Scott Dayton in the Edina Galleria. You can find out more about their products by going to twillmn.com. You can also just go to the store. It's small. Small's not the right word. It's cozy. There's lots of stuff in there, but it doesn't feel like a department store. It is a boutique men's store. But they have everything. They have everything from, handmade belts made in Vietnam to gopher stuff to golf stuff. But this time of the year, we're all looking for ways to be warm and comfortable. And I really think Twill stuff is exceptional for that. They have so many brands. You walk in and it's like, if you like wearing flannel shirts, well, if you go buy one of the flannel shirts at Twill, you're going to be getting a brand that's going to look really nice, and it's going to last forever. It's going to wear well. It's going to be comfortable. I love wearing all my Twill stuff this time of the year as the fall is approaching. Perfect for hockey rinks, perfect for football weekends. You can go in, you can buy something really expensive and a flashy, like I have an Italian suit from there that I had custom made. You can also just go get something that's going to look nicer than the average shirt, and it's going to last you forever. Wears so well. So check out twillmn.com. Sign up for email notifications They won't spam you to death. Believe me, don't send many emails. But when they have a special event or a special sale, they'd like to let you know. Or just stop by Twill in the United Galleria and tell them that we sent you. We'd also like to thank Minnesota Lottery Vikings Scratch Game Edition.
From the convenience stores in Cloquet to the supermarkets in St. Cloud, the Minnesota Lottery's Vikings Scratch Game is here. These are the concrete coliseums where we'll challenge chance and chase glory, where we'll gamely scratch and fearlessly scrape in pursuit of up to $100,000 in cash prizes. These are the stadiums where we come to play. Get in the game. Minnesota Lottery. I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play.
So one game in the books. Looking ahead, they have the 49ers coming to town. Then they get the Houston Texans. We're going to find out just how legitimate this team is pretty quickly. I don't even know that they need to win these games, but you want them to come out of it feeling like they can compete with better teams.
Yeah, I think that's the exact point, Jim. I don't think that you say, well, they have to win, some of these really difficult games, especially the Niners and Texans coming up here. But you do want to see them be very competitive. Like I thought, after the Rams Lions game, if I'm walking out of there as a Rams fan or a member of the Rams organization, maybe disappointed that I lost, but also feeling pretty good about the team, just given the injuries that they had on the offensive line on the road against one of the Super Bowl favorites in the NFC, and they took it to overtime. They were right in there the whole way. And so I think they walked out of that loss and being disappointed, but season's not over. We have a good team that's going to win a lot of games once we get everything going together. And I think that's what you want to see from the Vikings in the next couple of weeks here. Great if they can win a couple of these games at home. Then I think the enthusiasm ramps up even higher if you can beat a heavyweight and do it your way and kind of capitalize and compound the momentum that you built from week one. But really what needs to happen if they want to fully change the perception around this team that it's going to be a fourth place team in the division, that it's going to that's not really going to be in the playoff hunt, is they got to get into the ring against the Niners on Sunday and punch with them and make them work for it. You saw them against the Niners against the Jets. It really wasn't much of a game, and the Jets are a very good defense, especially, and they really just got chewed up and bullied by the Niners, even without Christian McCaffrey. And so that's an eye-opening one. The Niners are incredibly good. They're stacked and loaded and talented on both sides of the ball, and they're going to come in here and try to impose their will. And if the Vikings can stand up to that, if they can go toe to toe with them, win or loss, I would feel pretty good about the season going forward. Just if they keep it close and really kind of don't allow themselves to get steamrolled by a team that loves to steamroll you.
Yes. And I thought Aaron Rodgers made a few exceptional throws, but overall the vibe felt like, God, I just can't really move the way I used to, and I'm going to have to move to be able to play with this offense.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think similarly a little bit to Cousins. I mean, these are two older quarterbacks. I mean, Rodgers is a lot older than Cousins, but coming off of just one of the worst injuries an athlete can have. And I expect both of them to be a little bit rusty, a little shaky early on while they try to get their legs back underneath them and they get their timing back and all that. And I think I saw that with Rodgers against the Niners. There was a 4th and short play in the second half where Rodgers just made a bad throw to Garrett Wilson and allowed the Niners defensive back to break it up. And if he put the ball on the money, it's an easy first down. And there's little plays like that were throughout that game that just show you that either he is just kind of regressing as an overall quarterback given his age, or it's just taking some time for him. He's going to need some time to get all of that timing and rhythm back from all of the time that he missed last offseason. I know that there was a lot of last season. I know there was a lot of discussion with Rodgers about, maybe I'll come back in the middle of last year or whatever. Of course, that all proved to be absurd. And it's just, there's no disputing or running away from the fact that Achilles injury for a quarterback his age or Kirk Cousins' age is a real difficult thing to come back from. And it wouldn't surprise me if both players played much better next week or in the next couple of weeks as they get going. But I'm not surprised at all that neither one was very sharp, and Cousins was quite bad against Pittsburgh in their opener.
One last big picture comment from me, then I'll get a final thought from you after we discuss this. I will also say that I appreciate the vibe around this team. We talked about Zimmer last week and the fact that he just turned that whole organization into a dysfunctional mess. We've been around, and Denny Green won a lot of games here. Obviously a good coach, but he wanted the public and the media to be enemies. He wanted there to be a paranoid feeling in the building. One of the most amazing things I ever heard was John Randall one time told me that he loved playing for Mike Holmgren in Seattle because he realized you didn't have to hate anybody to play good football. We've been around difficult, nasty Viking situations when Childress first got here. He was horrible to deal with. So I want to say I appreciate the vibe around that organization right now. They're very accessible. O'Connell handles his role very well. He's fun to talk to. And you're talking about 60 players. When you include practice squad, it's like 70 players walking around, huge coaching staff. It's not like you're going to love every individual. I think the atmosphere out there is pretty conducive to players wanting to play for this organization.
Yeah. And that's cool to hear as well, because this is a team right now that is not the belle of the ball. You don't have a ton of positive attention saying they're going to be a Super Bowl favorite. We're doing, a lot of kind of coverage of them as a real contender. And so it could make them ornery. They could be, kind of just not jerks about it, but it could be enough to turn off the coach to get players fired up and be like, hey, no one believes us. And maybe they will play those cards later if things keep going in the right direction. But I do think that my experience around this regime and around Kevin O'Connell, since he has really kind of taken over as the leadership face of this franchise, is that there has not been a lot of concern about what is being said outside, kind of expectations that way. And I think it allows players to be more relaxed and just to concentrate on their work and focus. And, there are some coaches that thrive on motivating by saying the world is against us and it's, and we gotta stay together because everyone else doubts you. And O'Connell just doesn't seem like that kind of guy. I do think he's competitive. I think that there are things that bother him and that there are chips that get onto his shoulders sometimes with things. Absolutely. But by and large, he has fostered an environment of, less drama. Just like, let's not worry about all that stuff and just go to work and do a good job. And I have your backs and that's it. And I think it's really conducive to just taking the temperature of the water down. And that's helpful for this group.
I think so. John, did you have a final thought?
Yeah, I guess one thing I want to touch on is I think Aaron Jones looked great.
Yeah, you know what? I should have brought him up earlier. You're absolutely right. He was kind of the story of the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we will see as the season progresses how his body holds up. But if that's the version that they can get for the bulk of this season, the offense, I think, has a real chance to do something special because he looked very shifty. He looked very explosive. He was able to make people miss in tight quarters. He made a couple of big plays. He got to the corner on the touchdown with plenty of speed. And so he just really looked like the type of player that they need. And you talk to anyone over there and all off season and training camp, everyone's been singing his praises. But we got our first real look of him in purple with a bigger role, and I couldn't have been more impressed by what he brought to the table. So if they can keep him healthy and keep him doing that kind of thing more often than not, it's going to make them a heck of a lot harder to defend. And that was a very good sign, I think, for this offense coming out of week one.
I've always loved him as a player, and for a lot of reasons. One is I love it. I was talking with some of the Viking write-abouts the other day. It's amazing how many NFL players, I mean, really good NFL players, even great NFL players, don't have spectacular 40 times at speed positions. Jerry Rice was not particularly fast in a 40,
right,
and yet nobody ever caught him on the field. Chris Carter was not very fast. Great player. And Patrick. I mean, Aaron Jones. I mean, he's older. He's not going to win any sprint championships, but nobody seems to get an angle on him or catch him. I thought his touchdown run was brilliant. He had two defenders right there. He dips inside, freezes them, and then beats him to the pylon. He seems to be more of an artistic runner than we've seen the Vikings have in a long time.
Yeah, I think that, one thing that I always kind of marveled at with him in Green Bay is he always just seemed to find a way to, even when he looked like he was bottled up and there was nowhere to go, he's going to get 3 yards out of it. He's going to fall forward for 5. He just, he's not, what he isn't is an Adrian Peterson style, I'm going to hit the hole and I'm gone. And if you can't catch up to me, it's lights out. I think what he is so consistent and productive in terms of finding creases, making a couple of guys miss, and just making sure that there is almost always a positive play when the ball is in his hands. He's very crafty that way. He's a savvy runner that way. I think he has explosion. He can certainly create big plays, but I think that one of the major things that is going to be beneficial having him in this offense is he gets the ball between the tackles. He's surrounded by 4 guys and squirts through for 5 yards instead of being held to 1 or 2. That kind of thing and that vision and that just feel for the game is readily apparent. It was in week 1, and it's just what we saw so much in Green Bay is gosh, they just had him and there he is going for 8 or 9 yards. And so, I just, the overall feel for the game, which I'm sure has improved as he's been in the league as long as he has, I think it really sets him up to be effective, even if, like you said, he's not having a 4.2 40 and he's not going to be breaking off 75-yard runs with regularity.
Yeah, he's a blast to watch. Really looking forward to watching him all year. Hope he stays healthy for that reason. For John Krawczynski, I'm Jim Souhan. We appreciate you listening to the Viking Update Show. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to everyone who listens. Check out the John Krawczynski Show, our Timberwolves show on the network, and you should know the lineup by now. Russo, LaPanta, Gorg, Krawczynski, John Millay, Jeff Diamond, Don Mitchell, Roy Smalley, Lavelle Neal, Randy Shaver's new high school football show. Check it all out at talknorth.com, plus our outdoor content. We appreciate you listening. We'll talk to you next week.